died, I felt like there was a hole. I missed something, but it wasn't you. It was the idea of what you could become. But Dad, please know that while I am grateful and highly aware of all that you've given this family, I still don't miss you. When you died, I felt like there was a hole. I missed something, but it wasn't you. It was the idea of what you could become. I missed being able to hope and wish that one day you'd turn a corner and see the world from my perspective. I missed the idea that one day you might help me fight for the things that matter. I missed my fantasy of you. Because when you died, it solidified the fact that you'll never be what you could have been, but only what you are. And what you are is a racist, misogynistic, xenophobic, Trump-loving, cis-straight white man. That is all you will ever be to me. And Dad, before you tell me to respect the dead, please remember that you disrespected and disregarded the lives and deaths of entire communities of people with your ideology. You told me to never back down, so I won't. You know for a fact that even against you, I'm not afraid to share my peace. You are everything I aspire not to be, and I refuse to stand up here and sing the praises of a man who was the paradigm of white supremacy. So I'll take your racist mindset, I'll take your money, and I'll take your advice. And I swear to God I will make this world a better place. Not at all because of you, but in exact opposition to you. Thank you.
Whenever it's funny because feedback, I don't think feedback is an accident. Feedback always comes when there's an awkward moment or some shit. It's like when your microphone is gangbanging. Okay. when your microphone.
Okay, so there you guys have it. Now,
So she's a mixed girl. Is that what I understand?
yes.
Okay, and she didn't like her racist dad.
Yes. He died, and that's the speech he gave. Yeah, so I saw everybody feeling this was sad. Some people felt like, where are we at in the state of the country where people are talking about their parents that way? A lot of people had like negative takes about it, and I understand. She said some stuff that was interesting. She said, I'm not mourning your death. I'm mourning the death of the person that you never became. Clearly, however we feel, we don't know the dad. We don't know her. So we don't know what the dynamic is. He could have been a really bad person. He could have been a really good person, and she's fairly characterizing. So depending on which one is true, I probably feel very differently about it, right? If the argument is that he's a bad person because he supports Trump and he supports this and he's probably like not, for the Black Lives Matter movement, then a lot of people are going to be like, doesn't sound like a terrible person to me. And he supported you financially and he was present. A lot of people are probably looking at it like, doesn't sound like the worst dad. But we don't know the intricacies of that relationship, so it's hard to really judge. He had enough influence in her to teach her to be like a go-getter, to speak her mind, to tell the truth or whatever she is. But he was also a bad dad. It sounds like they just had difference politically speaking. That's what I'm surmising.
Yeah.
Where she's like either pro-trans and he's completely anti.
Yeah.
And that was a source of conflict. She seems very politically inclined with how strong her
Yeah.
opinion she is. So how do I feel watching this? First part, her mourning who he never get to become. I think oftentimes children who lose their parents early on, it's like, especially if you didn't have the greatest relationship, like you're not just mourning the death of your parent, you're mourning the fact that y'all never had a relationship, that you didn't really have a childhood with your parent present. You didn't have, there's a lot of mourning that happens for different phases. So in that regards, I understand what she's saying completely. Like sometimes your parent isn't really a parent yet, they just birthed you and they haven't gotten like mature enough or stable enough to be able to be that parent. So you mourn the fact that you never even got them to see them be a parent in your life. And so there's a lot there that probably hurts. And so in that regards, like it's interesting and I think it's worth unpacking. On the other hand, our parents come from where they come from. As an immigrant, I could never think like she did. And if most immigrants did, we'd all hate our parents. Because if we're being honest, vast majority of immigrant parents hold some form of like racist or anti-LGBTQ or anti this group, this ethnicity view. That's just a fact. I could never imagine having her mindset and having any relationship with my mom. Me and my mom have very strong difference in opinion when it comes to politics. She votes probably drastically different than me. Probably because she votes and I don't. But that's not the point.
That's what I was about to say.
We just moving past that one.
She votes
A lot of you guys are like, yo, Abba, you vote. I'm like, bitch, I ain't a bot. Fuck is you talking about? I'm out the matrix, okay? We're not talking about that. That's irresponsible. You want to, Abba, you should vote. Okay, well, we'll make that another video, okay? I just want to trigger some of you guys. And I got you.
Gotcha, bitch.
But to stay on this topic, I don't think you could. And I think one thing that people need to learn to do a lot better is to learn to have relationships with family members despite feeling different politically. Maybe that means you guys don't talk about abortion at the dinner table. I know. It's a big talking point. Move on. And if they're saying a bunch of dumb shit about LGBT, just let them have it. Maybe you have a small discussion, but once it gets contentious, walk past it. Because I think between family members, it's okay to have diametrically opposing political views and still maintain that cohesiveness. Because in my opinion, maintaining that bond is more important than being able to share the same political values. That's me. Maybe I'll feel differently, but I know that most families wouldn't be able to exist if they necessitated that the other party shares the same kind of voting rights. So what I think is sad about this, more than anything, is that she sat there and she said all this stuff about her father. And obviously the man's passed. But it meant that even when he was living, they prioritized their politics over their relationship. Or at least she did. And that's what's sad to me. So, yeah. Okay, actually, so someone else is saying she's reading the eulogy she wrote for her deceased father in an academic environment. What do you think?
Art, whenever you do art, at some point, it is a form of wanting attention. You want to bring attention to something. Attention is not necessarily or inherently bad, right? Wanting attention or wanting to put attention on something or a specific subject is not necessarily a bad thing. And yes, it is just, to me, it's a thing. You want attention for certain things, and you want to bring attention to certain things. So yeah, and it's in a context of art. If she knew that it would gone viral, maybe I would understand where you're coming from. But if it's someone else that filmed that shit and put it and posted it, you know what I mean? So I'm like, it's whatever to me. She's just performing art. That's what it is, to be a bit extra. And I see this a bit like slam poetry. There's a bit of that in there where that's what they want. They put a context where, I performed this, my dad died, and this and that, and that's where I took my inspiration from. Yeah. So I can understand where that's from. You know what I mean? So what's the difference between her saying, my white father died and he was like that, so I take the inspiration there, and I'm performing a piece that I wrote for eulogy and into art academic environment, whatever. What's the difference between that and a gangbanger making a song about the people that he dropped dead? He's inspiring from a dramatic event, or it's talking about the hood. That's something that happened. Does he want attention?
Well, I think basically people are like, she's glad, or she seems like, fuck her dad kind of thing.
And I think it's an okay sentiment. You have the right to be pissed off at people.
Yeah.
You have the right to be pissed off even at family. But it's your dad. I understand that you...
Hey, listen, all men are created equal, but not all dads. Be honest.
Le pire, that's a bar. Le pire, c'est que c'est vrai.
Some parents...
Yo, it's like...
I'll be right back.
No, do your thing. Yeah. So to me, what's the difference between this and that? You know what I mean? She took it and she did something out of it. Yeah, but she wanted attention. Yeah, but some people that do that and report stories from the hood and put it out there are not only taking advantage of the people that died and the families that are mourning and suffering, not only doing that, but they're also taking profit of, like a actual profit. People are doing profit off people that are dead. So which I don't really see the difference between one and the other. Like, we permit one, but we're gonna bash the other. So if that's how she feels, we just feel that way because it's her dad, and you're supposed to love your family unconditionally and no matter what happens. No, there's some people that, depending on what happened and how they wronged you, you're gonna be like, no, that person's dead to me, or that I don't agree with that person, or that. Yeah, I think it's okay to dislike even your own family. I think it can happen depending on what happened and what's your sentiment. Is she right? That's not for me to judge. I don't care. At that age, the politics means so much. Like, you take it like as your identity and everything that happens to her. Mm-hmm. Just being a mixed kid, I think that it's already hard. Just to be a mixed kid, you have to go through, who am I?
Yep.
Am I this or am I that? Am I both? How does it, like, how do I fit in? Mm-hmm. Then you kind of have to choose a camp.
Uh-huh.
You know, it's hard for people, and I haven't seen that. They're either one or the other. Mm-hmm. Not a lot of people embrace both. You know what I mean? In any kind of way. So she chose to side with black people. So if I'm with them, you over there. So, and there's all that Black Lives Matter. It's very emotional shit. You're trying to figure out who you are as a person, who you are as a woman, who you are as a mixed kid, who you are politically, and at that age, everything that goes against your grain, even if it's like your parents, and even without that, at that age, you go against your parents because you got to assert yourself and you got to, live through your shit. So there's all that kind of dynamics that you have to take in consideration, right? Maybe eventually she's going to realize, I remember when I was at that age, I was pissed off about my parents. I was pissed off. And if something would have happened or my parents would have died and I would be her age, I would have probably the same thing. The same thing happened to me and I would have probably said the same thing. Yeah, but when you grow up, you go older, and then you get to understand your parents. You get to understand where they're coming from and why they're saying what they're saying.
You make some money and you become more conservative.
That's not funny. That's not funny. That's not funny. That's facts. But you start to pay taxes. When you were a kid, you're like, everything needs to be free. This needs to be free. And then you get to comprehend that, oh shit, ain't nothing in this bitch free. Ain't nothing. It doesn't work like that. It does not. It cannot. Because at the end of the day, when you understand how taxes work, it's going to be nothing is free. You understand? So you want all these things, people are going to end up paying for you. You get to get older, you get to mature, you get to understand where your parents were coming from. You also get to act like the parents you didn't want to act like.
Yeah.
And then you're like,
that's
fuck,
a weird feeling, right?
That's a weird fucking feeling. And then you understand where they're kind of coming from. You're not going to be 100% like your parents, but you understand where it's from. At the end of the day, it's DNA. You know what I mean? So I understand why she's saying what she's saying at that age, because I was that age and I was pissed off at both my parents. You understand? When I move out my house, and not so young, older than that, when I move out my house, when I move out my parents' house, and they made that clear that it was not my house. So when I moved out, I didn't talk to them for like 2 years after that. I was there at social gatherings and shit, but a phone call, that was not me. That was not me. If they would call, I would say less. You have to have that separation from your parents, from that household, from knowing what, and then you realize, okay, you learn a little bit about life, you mature, and then you reflect. Maybe she's gonna reflect in the future, and she's gonna regret what she did. It's a possibility,
Inshallah,
or maybe not. Inshallah. We don't know, but I understand. And yeah, all that I said.
All right, let us know what you guys think in the comments.